It started with whispers, soft, unintelligible murmurs that drifted through John's apartment late at night. At first, he brushed it off as his imagination, a product of his exhaustion from working too many long shifts. But the whispers grew louder, clearer, until they weren't just murmurs, they were voices. "You can't trust them," one said, low and malevolent. "They're watching you," another hissed. John slammed his hands over his ears, trying to drown them out, but it was no use. The voices were inside his head, a constant, haunting presence. He hadn't slept in days. He'd stopped answering calls from friends and family, convinced they were part of some grand conspiracy against him. The paranoia gnawed at his sanity. He saw things, too. Shadows moving in the corners of his vision, silhouettes lurking in darkened doorways, watching him. He couldn't escape them, no matter where he went. Every time he turned to confront them, they vanished. But the feeling of being watched never left. One night, the voices stopped. The sudden silence was almost worse, deafening, oppressive. For the first time in weeks, he thought he might be alone. But then he heard a knock at the door. John's heart raced. He wasn't expecting anyone, and no one visited him anymore. He crept toward the door, peering through the peephole. But there was no one there, just the dimly lit hallway of his apartment building, empty and quiet. The knock came again, louder this time. Terrified, John threw open the door, ready to confront whatever nightmare lay beyond it. But the hallway was still empty. As he stood there, heart pounding, he felt a presence behind him, something cold and sinister. Slowly, he turned around. There, in the middle of his living room, stood a figure. Its face was distorted, shifting and blurring, as if reality itself couldn't contain it. It grinned at him with hollow eyes, its voice dripping with malice. "We've been inside you all along." John tried to scream, but the sound never came. The figure stepped closer, its form twisting and writhing, merging with the shadows around him. His mind fractured, the line between reality and hallucination dissolving entirely. The last thing John saw before everything went black was his own reflection in the figure's eyes. But it wasn't him anymore. It had taken over, and no one would ever know.